First Book of God, being contemporaneous with the book of Penta-Armage, daughter of Jehovah, as the upper book relateth to the higher heavens, so in like manner dealeth the first book of God with the lower heavens and with the earth, for the same period of time. For which reason this book is placed below the other. This book treateth fully of the four great persons chosen by God, namely, Po of Ch.1-3, inspired by the god Yima; Brahma of Vindnu, inspired by the god Div; Abram of Parsia, and afterward of Egypt, inspired by the god Vishnu; and Iawada of North Gautama, inspired by the god Os. And these inspirations were for the same period of time known in the kingdoms of heaven as the time of the Ark of Bon. These four gods were the chief divine gods of that day, Hachue being div in chief. Chapter 1. The Creator of creations, out of whom are all voices, of whom are all things in semblance, from him and in him these utterances, by his gods and lords and high-raised angels and mortals. 2. Into whose dominion gave he the earth for the glory of Jehovah, whose God came and walked and talked with such as had been prepared for the deliverance of his chosen. 3. For the four preserved divisions of the earth gave he four sons of holy light and power for the voice of God and his lords. 4. Po of Japheth, Abram of Arabinia, Brahma of Vindnu, and Iawada of Gautama, whose records are everlasting on the earth, which are testimony that these men were raised up by the Father for his own glory and for the deliverance of men. Chapter 2. The first Chinese Bible, being of Po, an Iesu, chosen by God for the children of Japheth. 1. These are the generations of the line of light from the time of Zarathustra. 2. Shu Sa, Guan, Lu, Sam, Daijo, Wei, Him, Gao, Si, Wing, He Wen, Se Kong, Lam, Mu Yao Tine, Lutz, Haim, Mai Se, Hong, Gi, Wan Gi, Se Lu, succeeding one another. 3. All the foregoing were seers and prophets of God, having the voice from their youth up, and were each in turn a shield and guardian unto the chosen of God, Faithis. 4. God, light, said, with Selu, behold, the voice was lost, but I called aloud on the face of the earth, and my light spread abroad. 5. And there came a woman of Chesong, named Haseh, an Ihan, through whom the voice was regained. 6. Haseh had 7 sons and 7 daughters, all of whom heard the voice and saw the light. 7. And God divided the 14 sons and daughters, one from another, and sent them in different ways. 8. These then are the tribes then sprung of them: King, Si, Gue, Lu, Hai Ga, Hai Segua, Yo, Hafung, Ne, Hai Lam, Seing, Youth, Lo, Don, Ying E, and Ho Lung Gao. 9. From the line of Hafung sprang Enamjo and Zedzu, half Ihan. From the Yinge sprang Noe and Lu Laim, also Yutse and Hia. And God commanded the Hians to dwell toward the south, and they so dwelt. 10. From the line of king descended the Wei Yang Ho, and they lived toward the north and made fellowship with the Fosim, who were Ihuans by blood, and also followers of the Zarathustrian law under the name Sasin, having rabbis whom they called Ba, the same as to this day. 11. From this tribes of Fosim sprang Han, and from Wei Yang Ho sprang Hai and Te Wing, both of which tribes had the light and the voice. 12. And all the north regions of Japheth dwelt in peace and happiness. 13. And God looked upon them and blessed them in all things. 14. Nevertheless, it came to pass that the tribes of Han forgot the commandments of God, and Lehan, a mighty chieftain, rose up amongst them, and re-established the Osirian doctrines, that corporeal knowledge should stand higher than the Ormazdian law. 15. Han usurped the central throne of Japheth, calling himself Han, king of the sun, and so Han gave himself up to getting knowledge and to enforcing knowledge upon the people. 16. Han issued the following decree: Han, king of the sun, behold, there is one sun and his satellites. There shall be but one kingdom with satellites. 17. Behold me, I am the Sun King. I will put away all other doctrines and learning. Let all the world bow down to me. 18. Han was asked, shall a man not worship the unseen? He answered, better is it to worship a stone, which thou canst see. 19. Han said, worship not in words, but in works. Worship not in prayer, but in doing righteously. What is prayer but crying to one's own weaknesses? 20. If there be an unseen light, he will do his own way. What is the use of praying to him? Rites and ceremonies to him are the expression of folly. Rites and ceremonies to our forefathers are excusable. If their souls continue to exist, the rites and ceremonies may give them good pleasure. 21. So Han abolished the worship of Jehovah, light, and his gods and lords. 22. God looked down from his holy hill in heaven, and he said, it is well. Let Han have dominion. Behold, Han enraptureth the multitude with his new doctrines, remembering not that these doctrines were tried thousands of years before. 23. God prophesied through his prophet Ch.1-3, saying, hear me, O Han, and all ye people of the world. I prophesy by the voice and light, God and Jehovah. I know my words are true words. By words the soul is bent. By not praying to the unseen will be forgotten. By the abolition of rites and ceremonies to the gods will be forgotten. Man will rise up in self-conceit against his Creator, saying, behold me, I am the highest of all things. My judgment is the greatest of all wisdom. And the tribes of men will aspire to establish opinions as fundamental doctrines. War and destruction will come upon the nations. 24. Han would not heed the prophecy of God. Han established what was called the first Han dynasty, and it overspread the land of Japheth from center to circumference. 25. And there came of the laws of Han great persecution against the faithless, the worshippers of Jehovah. 26. Han said, try them by the food they eat, and whoso refuseth to eat fish or flesh shall suffer death. Neither shall any man or woman have favor in the courts, who holdeth sacred the life of a cow or a horse or a dog or any other animal on the face of the earth, or in the waters or in the air above the earth. 27. So the faithists, the followers of the Zarathustrian law, were outlawed and were tortured and put to death on every hand. And it had come true as prophesied by Ch.1-3. 28. God said, behold, they have not only forgotten the Creator and denied his person in words, but in behavior also. For they no longer hold sacred anything he created alive, even man. Chapter 3. 1. From Ch.1, God raised up prophets for 7 generations. Ch.1 begat Do-Se, who begat Yin, who begat Hai-Ne, who begat Lan-Seang, who begat Dai-Soch, who began Ho-Long, who begat Po, who was an Iesu in birth. 2. When Po was yet very young, the voice of God came to him, saying, be steadfast in the doctrines of thy forefathers, eating neither fish nor flesh. Thy God will not only preserve thee alive, but thou shalt gather together the scattered tribes of Zarathustrians, the faithless and reestablish them in this great land. 3. In those days, many of the Zarathustrians were celibates, and the king saw his people being reduced by war, and he made a law against celibacy, commanding all men to marry, and all women to bring forth children, or be put to death. 4. When Po was grown up, God said to him, Behold, thou canst not fulfill the law, for thou art Iesu born, but I will fetch thee a wife like unto thee, who is also barren. But ye twain shall be blessed with 3 children, and thou shalt call them Wanle, Togan, and Selu. 5. And it came to pass that a woman of Hongeh, with 3 adopted children, escaped from the tyranny of Daiwan, fleeing for the southern tribes of Haisigwa and Yo and Guangun. And with her, Po wed, and he named his wife Atadauji. 6. Po was 20 years old when he married, and he went with his wife and 3 children to the country of Hengadai, which name signified brother land, and he labored at scutching flax and hemp. 7. And God came to Po, saying, What is the extent of thy fidelity to the all-highest light? 8. Po said, I will obey him in all things. 9. God said, Would thou sacrifice thy 3 sons if commanded by thy Creator? 10. Po said, They are the Creator's, not mine. How dare I sacrifice that which is another's? 11. God said, Thou art wise. Thou knowest the Ormazian law. 12. Then Po asked, Who art thou? Who is this that cometh upon me silently asking questions? 13. God said, Go thou, visit Hai-Seim, the philosopher, and question him. 14. Hai-Seim was governor of the south province of Hengadai, and was, withal, a man of great learning. 15. Po came to him and questioned him, saying, What is this that asketh us questions? Why do we question and answer ourselves all day long? 16. Hai-Seim answered, Are we not 2 selves? Do we not discourse within ourselves like 2 selves? 17. Po said, Which, sayest thou, is the superior self, that which questioneth within us forever, or that which is forever answering? 18. The governor said, That which asketh questions must be the superior self. 19. Po said, Who is it? 20. Hai said, It is nothing. It is something. Po answered him, saying, It appeareth to me these 2 selves are 2 different persons. One belongeth to the flesh, the other to the Creator, because this questioning self is the same one that seeth and heareth gods and angels. 21. Hai said, What sayest thou, God or angels? 22. Po replied, God and angels. 23. To which the governor took exception, saying, Dost thou too defy the law? 24. Po said, What I see. What I hear. Something external to ourselves made us, and ruleth over us. 25. The governor asked, Have we not rid the world of superstition? Why dealest thou with doctrines that were in the dark ages? I tell thee there are 2 things only in all the universe, the unseen firmament and the corporeal worlds that float therein. Their action and reaction on each other produce what we call life, which is but an effervescence that cometh and goeth, and there is the end. The laws are right. Han hath done a good thing in abolishing the doctrines of the ancients. 26. Whilst they were yet talking, God sent a blaze of fire into a bush standing nearby, and a voice spake out of the flame, saying, Who then sayest thou I am? For verily I am. 27. The governor saw the light, and beheld that the bush was not burnt, and he also heard the voice. But God suffered him to be hard of heart, and Hai said, Behold, thou comest to me, knowing I am a philosopher, and thou castest thy spell in the bush, like a magician. I am master of 1,000 books, and am registered as a man of great learning. Thou hast offended me. 28. Po said, Why accusest thou me? For is it not just for me to accuse thee of casting a spell? I cast it not. 29. Again did God appear and speak, saying, Accuse thou not this, my son, Po. Thou shalt labor with him. Behold, I give into thy keeping the country of Fe, for even this hour hath died Mugwan. The tribes of Gan shall be gathered together in Fe and Hengadai. 30. Hai Sang, the governor, was astonished at the words of the light, and he sent a servant to ascertain if Mugwan was dead, and it turned out to be true, though the distance was a day's journey each way.